Like literally, like what made you start your own business in the food truck industry?
My friend, what made me start? It was COVID times, and I just lost my job in engineering, and so basically I had nothing to do, and I got a job of delivery so I could be outside and be considered a key worker. And in that process, I was delivering loads of food. I was speaking to restaurant managers, owners, chefs, and because there was no customers in there, I almost had these one-to-one conversations. And I started to understand the food industry, the business, and I was like, I can do this. I didn't know how to cook though, but I was like, I can do this. And then in that moment, I'm cooking a lot, and I got quite good at it. And I thought, let me try this as a business. Let me try doing something. I know what it's like. Understand what it's like being a restaurant manager. I understand what it's like being a chef because I've had these conversations. So I got a little bit of experience before I started, though. I did get some experience with some of these restaurant managers. They, became friends with them, and they let me in their kitchens. So once I got experience, and I've always been independent, I just ran with it.
So was it the food truck trailer industry that you was looking at from before, or is it something that you just felt like, this is an industry I might want to pop in?
No, I wanted like a cafe initially. I wanted like a bricks and mortar. I realized I can't afford that. I'm nowhere near affording that. And then I started with £3,000. I started with a gazebo. I bought my van with that 3,000, the gazebo, the grills, all set up £3,000. Wheeling and dealing. And from the gazebo, we moved up to a catering unit. That catering unit ended up buying this one. So it became like gazebo. I bought one, like a really cheap one for like 8 grand. Then I bought this big boy. This is like
What would you say your setup like? Is it electric? Is it full electric, or are you running on 50-50?
okay, most of my appliances run on gas. So the grill and the fryers are on gas. I prefer using gas when cooking. Now, we only use around 2 kilowatts of power, which is like the lights, the water pump, the gas control feature we got on there, and the fridges and freezers. And then we got heating lamps as well, which we sometimes use. So we're not drawing out a lot of energy. Our system, which was made by Box, it actually has a backup generator, meaning if the power cuts off on the generator, we do have quite a lot of power to use. They did say it was 30 minutes, but I've got about 3 hours out of it, which is good. Mm.
So where did you get your trailer from? Was it built here in the UK, or was this custom built overseas?
So my trailer itself was built in the UK with a company called Box. Now, I always tell people if you've got the money, go with Box, literally. But a lot of people that are getting started, they don't. So this one here is if you're tried and tested, if you're a proven individual, you know what you're doing, go get this. There are models out there which I wish I had gotten. The opportunities weren't there at the time. But China are bringing out some of the best catering units I'm seeing right now that are rivaling my ones. And some is only costing 15K all in with equipment. With equipment, that's incredible. That's crazy. So look, for what I have, it's a beautiful trailer. Nothing's ever gone wrong with it, but I did pay a lot of money. I made a lot of sacrifices for it. There are alternatives out there for people starting, and they're much less than what I paid for. It could be an option where you spend 15,000, you get that initial trailer from China, and then when you're good and ready, when you're an established business and you're in the game, then you can go for one of these. But sometimes you might be happy with the China ones. I would have both.
So let me ask though, on a separate note. So what are the pros and cons of running a food truck trailer business? Let's start with the pros.
The pros, you're not stuck to one place. So the power of social media shows you where you're most popular, where your customers are. So if in my case, I've got customers in London, Birmingham, as far as Newcastle and Sydney. And so with the food truck, I'm a movable object. I can go where the customers are. If it's not doing well today, I can move tomorrow and I'll be okay over there. And I have done that. I've done great in Epsom. I've now done great in Stratford. So being able to move is a wonderful thing. Um, the one thing I like as well, which is underrated, your customers see everything. There's transparency. So a lot of my customers, they can see the whole cooking process. They see what's going on. And I feel like the customers love that. They love that. And I love it too because, and we're so close to each other. Like there's that, we can create a bond, we can talk, we can, and that helps with customers retention, because now they feel like they're your friend. because you're so close. That it's more of an intimate, scenario. So yeah, there are massive pros to it, massive pros.
And then what would you say are the cons? What would you say are the really the
The cons, because you're a movable object. Like in our case, we got gas, right? And sometimes I wish like, and there's electricity as well. So one of the power is an issue. If you go to an event, it's finding the right amount of power. Having to carry power with you, like carrying a generator. If the event does, if the event says they got electricity, you go there and the electrics don't work, you're in trouble, right? So that's one big issue that I've found with it. It's more that that's the big issue I've had with it. I can't really say I've had too many cons in my. There are cons out there, but they're not cons to me. My con is the power. It's dealing with power.
if there was something that you would do differently when it comes to the future trailer, what would you change?
The thing is, guys, be careful when you get into this game. Yeah, there's a lot of people that will sell you. I can do you a beautiful trailer. I can build you something amazing. There's a lot of sharks out here. I've heard some horror stories of people paying massive deposits on trailers, and people doing runners. People, running away. I had the horror story of my own trailer where I was promised something, and when it was completed, it was completely opposite to what I was promised. I had to make do with what I had. I'd not to take it to court and do stuff like that. It would have been forever. So there are a lot of sharks out here. Make sure you do your due diligence, figure out the people you're dealing with, see their history, see what they've done in the past, and if you can find people that have done work, they've done work for, even better. But just be careful when you get into the food industry, because one thing I didn't do, I just trusted the first person that looked like, that had that knew how to talk. You know what I mean? I felt like everyone was honest in the game. There's a lot of dishonesty in the game. You know what I mean? So you just be careful who you choose. But there are a lot of honest people as well who go above and beyond. You know, case of study, ammo box. When something went, only a few things went wrong in the first week, and they were here the next day to fix it. You know, and then ever since I ain't had any problems. So just be careful who you deal with out there.
And can I ask too, like with your whole setup, how much did this cost you? How much did this setup cost you?
Do we want to know?
We want to know. I think everyone wants to know because it's a beautiful setup that you've got. I've personally just looked at your setup.
Yeah, yeah,
How much did this cost you? And then second question would be, how long did it take for you to make that money back?
yeah. Pay that money back. It cost me 40K for this one, all in. I'm talking appliances, the original catering, the original cattle box. It was a 40K all in. 40K. I spent 40K to
So how long did it take for you to actually make your money back?
make my money back. 40K, maybe 3 months. I think three months, 2 months, 3 years, something like that. It was stressful, you know what I mean. But like, you got to make big investments sometimes, guys. You got to make big investments. I made my money back. I'm able to sell more steaks. I'm able to travel with the unit. It's maybe more adaptable. Flexible as well. So it was money well worth it. Money well worth it. But also had a lot. It's not like at the time as well, TikTok was blowing off. So a lot of money from TikTok came in. A lot of money from food sales. You know, so yeah, it was good. It was good.
And how much would you say you roughly make on a day out here?
I won't say what I make now because there's people that are pocket watching out here. But what figure do you think would make most people happy?
It's not really about making people happy. It's really more about
Well, that's what they're in this business. They want to be happy, right? They want to sustain their families. They want to have a good standard of living. People say 100K is like the magic mark in this country. 100K a year. That's nothing in this game. You can make that. Some people make that in one festival. So
yeah, like a Glastonbury somewhere.
I have like my neighbor. He's bought 3 houses because of Glastonbury. You know what I mean? So you can make your money in this game easy, easy. You know what I mean? 100K a year. You want to do 500,000 a year. Well, I know a food truck that makes 1 million a year here. It happens.
So would you say the people that are actually making these big numbers, it's just really based on location and where their setup is, right?
Okay, the one I'm thinking, the one that made loads of money is they've been in that specific spot for like 10, 20 years. They're ingrained in the community. It might not be the most central location, but they're well known. They're well established. When I was in Epsom, even here, Stratford, it's a lovely location. But also, guys, I need you to understand something. Just don't when you pick a location, number one, be in love with the location. That's the most important thing. Number one, you're in love with it. Number two, look around, look with your eyes what's around you. Just remember, beyond what your eyes can see, there's a vast world out there. There's people watching New York, America, Australia, Canada, and they're gonna come to your spot. I've got customers that have come from New York every month. I've got a customer from China, Australia. You know, the reason I'm in East London today is because a lot of my customers were viewing me from East London, and it became a natural progression. We got people in West London, so social media is key because it will bring people far and wide, but it will also reestablish the ones you got in your main base.
So with your business now, do you have any plans on taking it any further, or it's like stepping out maybe into a franchise at some point? Like,
We're looking at franchises, especially in the food truck sector. So, there's people out there that want to get a food truck. Like I said, you don't have to buy one like this. There's ones that are just as good or better for a quarter of the money. And people want the steak, man. They want the steak and fries. They want a signature sauce. It's a simple concept. It's very easy to train someone to do something of this nature. If your area looks like it needs a steak, man, well, do the franchise, man. I think that's what I want to do right now. Giving people control. Crazy enough, I've been contacted by so many pubs that have said, "I want your concept in my pub." I'm tired of dealing with the chefs. I'm tired of dealing with the kitchen. I just want a food truck on my property. Let them handle the food, and then I can handle my business. It's too much headaches with the kitchen. And now we're in talks and doing deals with some of these pubs that want this type of situation: food truck, steak and fries. We do lamb chops, we do prawns sometimes. We've done short ribs. The world's our oyster, and so franchise is definitely something I'm looking at.
if you was gonna recommend this to someone, would you say they should go for it? This business, this type of food truck business, would you recommend this to the next person coming up?
Depends who you are. This type of business needs somebody who's got tenacity, who doesn't give up. If on Monday you make a lot of money, then on Tuesday you don't because it's raining. Then Wednesday you make an okay amount of money. Then Thursday you make zero. Then Friday you're the best day you've ever had in a long time. You gotta understand that comes with a game. You know, there's gonna be trials and tribulations, but this game needs tenacity. If you're one of those people, be tenacious. Also understand the best people in this game don't just make money off their food truck. They're able to pivot. Social media. You got Spud Man. He's selling jacket potato seeds. You got the Spud Bros. They're big on social media. They make revenue from social media. There's a guy called Burgerman Surge. He makes a killing. He was making a killing on TikTok. I hope he is still making a killing on TikTok lives. But he still has his main food truck. So guys, be ready to pivot off the food truck. Because the food truck can be a vehicle to many other avenues. There's guys making money on YouTube. He does one pitch a week, Saturday, selling pizzas. The rest of the week he's uploading YouTube videos. He's making a crazy amount on YouTube. So don't just think the food truck is the be or end all. If you want to spread your wings, it can be a good avenue.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, your number. Can I get your contact? Let's stay in contact with you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you very much. Man.